Happy Halloween! Can you guess my fancy dress? My hood is very good. My long black wig is very big, I'd grow one if I could. I fake attacks with a plastic axe and sword that's made of wood. Gape at the shape of my purple cape as it's draping in the mud. My mask, you ask, now there's your task, you haven't understood. It's my own face that graces this space with real fangs dripping blood. Trick or treat? I don't want a sweet, it's only you I want to eat. I'll stick with trick, I'm very quick. I'll pick your bones and eat your meat. Happy Halloween! I'm a monster disguised as human in a fancy dress costume. I prowl the streets at Halloween and jump out from the gloom. By the time you see me coming, you've already met your doom. Then I'll drag you back and eat you in my secret catacomb. I'll bring many to the party as my place has lots of room, and there you'll stay forever in your cold and lonely tomb. Trick or treat, admit defeat, trick is how we get to meet. You have to know I'll kill you slow, and that's the way I get my treats.
There's a ghost in the house, though I'm struggling to believe it. Shadows in the bedroom and a moaning in the hall. If someone's lost a ghost, can they please come and retrieve it? The shaking of the cupboards and the bouncing of a ball. I don't know if it's waiting for a relative to grieve it. Whispers in the basement and feeling something fall. It's occupied my home and it doesn't let me leave it. I don't know what to do. I really don't know who to call. It sounds like it's in pain, but I don't know who aggrieved it. I live here by myself. There's nobody else at all. There's an atmosphere of death and I'm trying not to breathe it. I've seen it in the mirror when it's coming through the wall. I can't open the door, I don't have strength enough to heave it. I have nowhere to run. Now it's forcing me to growl. A revelation struck me, but I'm reluctant to conceive it. It's been scribbled in the dust in a very shaky scrawl. The message has been signed, and it's my name that's beneath it. This building's very big, and I've never felt so small. It was my house, but there's no one to whom I could bequeath it. And now I feel new terror, as there's nobody here at all. I don't want to make a fuss, and I didn't mean to cuss, but I've noticed that Beelzebub is the driver of this bus. There are horns on his head, and he has an air of dread. He keeps driving through the lights, even though they're all on red. In the mirror, he sees me, and his eyes light up with glee. On this bus that's full of people, how come no one else can see? His badge reveals his name, and it doesn't hide his fame. It says Lucifer, Prince of Darkness, on the dashboard in the frame. His hoof's flat on the gas, and every vehicle that we pass is bursting into flames because we're going way too fast. Please somebody ring the bell, I give a panic-stricken yell. Stop this bus and let us off before we get to hell. Nobody seems to hear, nobody else shows signs of fear. Satan gives a mocking laugh and finds another gear. Our speed is getting higher as we rocket through the fire. All the other passengers are burning with desire. I start to feel the heat as it's coming through my seat. My skin smokes uncontrollably and smells of burning meat. I feel the engine stall as we hurtle through a wall. We've driven off a cliff and now the bus begins to fall. I seek out the Dark Lord, but there's no one else aboard. Suddenly he's next to me. "Tickets, please," he roared. Everything goes dark, and the blackness is so stark. Then far off in the distance, I can see a tiny spark. I fall towards that light, and it seems to take all night, but finally I land inside a whiteness, blinding bright. I don't know what brought my fall as I lay here in a sprawl. I can't seem to find my limbs, but I feel no pain at all. The silence is so loud in this glowing empty shroud. Is this to be my hell? An eternity of cloud? It seems to last for years before a sound comes to my ears. I hear my name and open eyes to see through floods of tears. I'm laying on a bed with a bandage on my head. Apparently, my accident had left me close to dead. With my coma at an end after 2 years on the mend, my memory gone, I have no one to look on as a friend. Alive and well at least, I've finally been released. I have nowhere to go, but it's better than deceased. With a minimum of fuss, I've been put aboard a bus, heading for the city with a feeling of nonplus. I sleep a little bit, but then awaken with a fit. Beelzebub is driving us towards a fire pit. There's a yeti in the forest and a beastie in the lake, a gremlin in the cupboard causing everything to break. There's a spectre in the graveyard and a clown under your bed. There's a devil in the detail and there's monsters in your head. There was a demon and his semen you made room for in your womb, and your child is getting wilder while you contemplate your doom. There's a zombie in your cellar and a creature in the attic. A poltergeist has staged a heist and fills your ears with static. There's a haunting in the mansion and a shadow in your bed, but the devil's in the detail and there's monsters in your head. There's a howling on the hillside and a growling in the street. There's a flapping in the belfry and a trick instead of treat. There's a movement in your garden and a stench of something dead, but the devil's in the detail. There are monsters in your head. Some kind of ghoul is in the school and there's a killer in the class. There's a hissing in the kitchen and a smell of leaking gas. There's a stalker where you walk, you're feeling dread each time you tread. But there's a devil in the detail and the monsters in your head. There's a sinister prime minister talking on the telly. There's a rumbling, grumbling, mumbling from that thing inside your belly. Your skin is crawling, falling off to a sprawling pile of dust. Your iron will has had its fill and crumbling into rust. Your words of power cower now and never will be said. But there's a devil in the detail and there's monsters in your head. Nosferatu hosted and constantly boasted his parties were to die for. A personal invite to turn up at midnight was the best that you could try for. The good Dr. Jekyll raised up his hackles and sent in Mr. Hyde. With his top hat and cane and a touch of insane, he made his way inside. Enter Count Dracula in a way so spectacular it was bound to cause a stir. Flying in through the skylight was a definite highlight, I think you will concur. Victor Frankenstein was next in the line, dragging along his new creature, who then came alive and danced to a jive in a real show-stopping feature. The mummy was there with a beautiful pair of sirens, one on each arm. His bandages flapped as they had him unwrapped and sang with their devious charm. The zombies were solemn, and so was the golem. The gremlins threw shit in the fan. Igor and Lurch were leading the search for the elusive invisible man. The Incredible Hulk was having a sulk, feeling a bit out of place. He wasn't a killer, but by then Godzilla had swallowed him up without trace. The clown Pennywise had caused a surprise by crashing the party alone. He didn't get far, as the girl at the bar was Medusa, who turned him to stone. There was evil galore on the busy dance floor. It was difficult finding some space. Some violence occurred, which of course was preferred and accepted with mutual good grace. The Wolfman was late, as he'd had to wait for the clouds to reveal the full moon, and the last to arrive at 1:55 was a creature from the Black Lagoon. The undead and immortal had opened a portal, inviting the devil to come. He RSVP'd with a no, but agreed that the party was second to none. The buffet was good, all covered in blood, sourced locally from towns nearby. The humans, unwilling but ever so filling, nutritious, and protein was high. Meanwhile, in the street were the marching feet of an army Van Helsing had mustered. Tonight was the night they would put the world right and the balance forever adjusted. With their torches of fire, they'd turn house into pyre and decapitate those who survived, or a stake through the heart and then cut them apart, as the ending Van Helsing had strived for. Nosferatu just smiled as his guests had defiled the last of the succulent meat. Fear not, my friends, this isn't the end. There's plenty more food in the street. He then gave a clap, which triggered the trap and sealed the siege army's fate. The end of this fable reads a full dinner table, topped with Van Helsing's head on a plate.
I was walking through the forest just about a month ago, when I came across a naked man pacing to and fro. He looked a little anxious, so I went to say hello, but he was startled when he saw me and demanded that I go. He was getting very agitated, acting like a loon. He said I would regret it if I wasn't gone real soon. He pointed at the sky just as the clouds revealed the moon. Then he fell onto his knees before collapsing in a swoon. I didn't understand what had happened to this man. I knelt beside his body, but his body had then begun to change, a transformation, an aberration that I can only explain as terrifying. And I was crying as I ran. And as I ran, I heard a howling that was chilling to my bone. And as I ran, I felt a certainty I'd die out here alone. And as I ran, I saw a shadow up ahead and gave a groan. And as I ran into the werewolf, he dropped me like a stone. Now I was moaning on the ground as he howled and gave a roar. Then he loomed above me, slavering saliva from his jaw. As I raised my hand, he bit my finger off, then spat it out and swore. "They're fucking vegan," barked the werewolf. "I don't want any more." So I survived that awful night and the werewolf attack, and I made it to the hospital where they stitched my finger back. Although it looks a little hairy and the fingernail's gone black, but 1 month later, I'm okay. As I enjoy a healthy snack and I sit back in the garden and listen to a tune, I can feel it getting colder on this autumn afternoon, and the sky is getting darker. The night will be here soon. But then my finger starts to throb as it points to the full moon. Now I'm feeling really queasy, and I think I might be sick, and my heart is turning cartwheels and beating really quick, and my body's growing bigger as my bones all give a click, and my hair is sprouting everywhere, very, very thick. My whole being feels a bloodlust I acknowledge with a howl, and the scent of life is everywhere, so sweet and yet so foul. Suddenly I'm in the street and letting out a growl, so quietly and stealthily around the town I prowl. And as I prowl I see the people running for their lives, and as I prowl I hear the husbands screaming for their wives, and as I prowl I smell the fear of as my awesomeness arrives, and as I prowl around a corner I get a whiff of chives. Now my howling's uncontrollable as my tongue begins to drool, and I'm racing past the houses and the station and the school until I finally reach my quarry. It's a treasure full of jewels. I burst into the allotment and scatter all the tools, and I'm going on a rampage. I couldn't be more savage as I'm murdering the parsnips, the carrots and the cabbage, decapitating cauliflowers, doing so much damage as I leave a trail of turnips and potatoes in the carnage. Every month the change will take me in the middle of the night, when the moon is at its fullest and it's shining big and bright. All the grocers and the farmers with their pitchforks try to fight, but there's no way that they can keep me from my vegetable delight. 'Cause I'm a hungry vegan werewolf with convictions way too strong to be deflected by defective carnist werewolves in the wrong. So I'll make the kill and have my fill of veggies all night long. In a massacre of plants is where I know that I belong.
Death is knocking at my door. I don't know what he's knocking for. Could I refuse to let him in and run away forevermore? I don't know why he needs to knock. Perhaps he's hoping that the shock of opening the door to him will be enough to stop my clock. Surely he could just walk through the walls if he so wanted to. There's nothing I can do to stop him take my life if it's now due. Maybe death is too polite to just turn up and claim his right. I wonder if he has to ask permission to put out my light. Death is tapping at my pane. I don't know what he hopes to gain. The window's open. What's to stop him climbing through from yonder rain? I see his shadow through the glass. He smells of rotting, mouldy grass. He's just watching me and waiting for the moment that I'm going to pass. The clock has stopped upon the wall to mark the time I'm due to fall, but still it ticks within my head to tell me death has come to call. At last, Grim Reaper steps inside. No longer does he try to hide. I see him now in all his glory. In one long stride he's by my side. Death is crawling on my skin and reaching for my soul within. He drains the body that was me and drops it like an empty tin. I see the thing I used to be before the Reaper rescued me. An empty shell upon the floor. This prisoner is finally free. No longer do I feel the pain, and never will I cry again. Whatever this that I've become, at least my life was not in vain. What comes next is hid from me, although I've never felt so free. We all will travel different paths to reach our final destiny. It was a clear, starry night with the moon shining bright as we sang songs around the campfire. When in flies a bat, 'twas the size of a rat who suddenly transformed to a vampire. "Good evening," he said. "I wish to be fed, so I followed the sound of your song. There's no need for panic, let's not make it manic, and I'm sure we will all get along." I know that he smelt the pure terror we felt and the blood running cold through our veins. His mouth opened wide and the long fangs inside were covered with blood-coloured stains. When he chuckled, we buckled, our fear was white-knuckled, but nobody moved from their spot. He moved to the fire and the flames climbed higher, like a pyre, but he didn't look hot. There wasn't a sound as we sat on the ground, as if bound by invisible rope. As though hypnotised, we looked in his eyes with surprise as they offered some hope. When he started to speak, we felt meek, very weak, but we hung on his every word. The things that he said, this undead Prince of Dread, were ever so slightly absurd. "My name's Vince, please don't wince, as I hope to convince you I'm really not after your blood. I'm a vampire, of course, but the source of my force is a story that's misunderstood. Before I was turned, I had already learned not to yearn for an animal's flesh. I'm a vegan vampire, and it's not my desire to require blood, no matter how fresh. All I'm asking of you, a blood orange or two, some beetroot or anything red. I supplement vitamins, ensuring I vitamin daily to keep myself fed. But as I'm looking at your cooking you've been tucking into here, all the meat and milk and blood, it makes me sick. I would be fucking good at sucking blood if that was my desire. Don't get me wrong, I'm super strong and quick. The real monsters here are you, so the thing I'm going to do is inject into your neck a new perspective. You will awaken in the morning with the realization dawning that your lives now have a strong vegan directive. He moved like lightning, frighteningly tightening his jaws onto each of our throats, his fangs pierced with a burning, a yearning to learn how to turn our carnivorous coats. And I started to weep as I drifted to sleep and saw Vincent creep out of sight. We slept soundly around that fire on the ground as we all found our way through the night. When we woke up at dawn and we spoke with a yawn of a hunger we couldn't resist. We couldn't stop raving about our new craving, behaving as if we were pissed. Now we're spreading the word, we're compelled to be heard, no more murder will tarnish our plate. Since that night at the campfire, and Vincent the vampire's desire that we alter our fate. So we travel by night as we fight the good fight, and our bite ignites hope and compassion. We speak up for the meek and the bleak and the weak in a friendly but no-nonsense fashion. If you ever meet Vince while you're eating your minced body parts, then you better reflect. He's a nice enough guy, but your pie might be why you find vegans a pain in the neck. Wandering from street to street, fancy dress from head to feet, joining up with friends you meet. Happy Halloween! Horror is the theme tonight, hoping that you'll get a fright. Animals are scared alright. Happy Halloween! Asking for a trick or treat, maybe lots of chewy sweets. Did you know they're made of meat? Happy Halloween! Dairy chocolate bars taste great. Can't recall how much you ate. Shame about the cows, too late. Happy Halloween! A trick for them, a treat for you. It's not as if you really knew the cruelty we put them through. Happy Halloween! The scary things were all pretend, at least for you and all your friends. But cows are suffering no end. Happy Halloween! Now you know, and if you care, when you come around next year, ask for plant-based treats to share. Happy Halloween!